toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Ooh, that sounds like a party, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. And I got it right this week, Ian. You remember on last week's show, I've done this hundreds of times, and just last week's show, I just completely wiped out during the opening. So
I mean, you've done this almost 333
Almost.
times.
In fact, I would say we're
at least halfway.
Yeah, at least halfway. We are at least halfway to 333 because this is show number 295, and we welcome you to show 295 of Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Three things that
I love all three of those
are
things.
just really all good things, aren't they?
Yes.
We're excited about the show today. So you mentioned 333. A lot of shows would celebrate their 100th episode, which we did. And then a lot of shows would celebrate their 200th episode, which we didn't do because it was in the middle of lockdown.
It was a sad COVID party.
It was a sad COVID party. What happened was we went to a room. Ian sat in one corner, I sat in the other corner, and we drank beer.
We just hollered at each other.
Go, hey, how's that beer? Pretty good. So that wasn't all that exciting. But we thought instead of hitting 300 and doing a big celebration show, which is what a lot of shows would do, we just thought we'd be a little different. We're waiting for 333.
We're outside the box.
That's right. We're rebels.
That also means
I'm a
we
rebel,
won't
Donnie,
fall into
loner. A loner, Donnie, a rebel. I got that backwards, didn't I? If you are old enough to know that reference, congratulations, you're really old, and I know you got it, so you're old.
That also means that we won't fall into that same old category of shows that stop right at 300 episodes.
Oh, right. Well, and for anyone who missed last week's show, I made a very exciting announcement. Even though I totally blew the intro, I made a very exciting announcement, and this is 100% true. Smokin' and Toastin', this show, which we are on episode 295 of today, is in fact in the top 4% of all podcasts in the world.
It's pretty amazing.
And the reason for that is less than 4% of podcasts, let me make sure I get this statistic right, make it past 10 episodes and had a new episode last week. So we did both of those things. So we are, in fact, in the top 4%. I mean, there's no denying it. You can't take it away from us. It's ours. So I want to say nice. A big welcome to Roberto Rivas Villar. Roberto, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Roberto is a bar consultant, a mixologist, and a cigar lover. It says that on his business card with a slash between each one, which I love. It's absolutely. I got to get me some cards like that. And he is here today because he is going to make us the perfect margarita. And so we're very excited. No pressure. I saw him
it's an award-winning margarita.
I was about to be like,
no, don't say it.
All right, so it may not be perfect, but it's good enough to have won an award. Tell us about the award that this won.
So I was invited by the beautiful people from Jimador, and it's a yearly event called the Margarita Trail. It's organized by the Houston Press and Jimador. They go out and pick their favorite places. They invited everybody to apply. I was invited by my friend Will. He said, hey, first of all, I work with this amazing place called Wild. It's a dispensary, bar, and coffee shop.
Okay.
We have CBD, Delta 8, all things within the boundaries of legality in Texas. So we work a lot with him, and so he came in and was like, "You wanna be part of this competition?" And I was like, "Well, sounds like I don't know, man."
Sounds like work.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, I have a.
And then people are going to be judging you, right?
Yes. I was like, I don't know, man. And so I was there, and my friends, the people that I work with over there, the beverage director, everybody were like, "Well, you're up." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm up." So it was a lot of fun. They do this every year. It's called the Margarita Trail. So they pick a few accounts after going through different margaritas. It's a whole. This time was Dallas and Houston mainly. The I think was the ones that they were participating. There's a big online voting going on for about 6 weeks. You go to the bar. We have like little table stands with the promoting it, the margarita. So you just scan the barcode and you vote for your favorite margarita. You can promote it. You can do anything you want.
Right.
It was, I believe, the 5 left, the top 5. We went to the grand finale, which was at the Warehouse Live on the 13th of July.
So let me make sure I understand this. People voted, and then when it was narrowed down to 5 that were getting the most votes, then you went to sort of a head-to-head competition.
Exactly.
Right?
It was like a physical present, actual present.
So you're there shaking up margaritas. And somebody's tasting them, right?
This is going to be the best part of explain the whole experience because it's going to be part of what I'm going to teach you today, guys, about how I do certain things to avoid the effects of time in the molecular composition of citrus juices and other things that greatly affect.
There's not going to be any math, is there?
What is it?
There's not going to be any math, is there?
A little bit.
Oh man! See, I was told there would be no math. No, obviously, I'm joking, but it's a. But you're getting really like down to the serious science. Of
I
this,
do a lot of.
I
do a lot of science behind the bar.
I love that. See, and when I was in school, in high school, and I was like studying science, I was like, what do I need to learn this for? I'm never going to apply this to anything in my life. And see how wrong I was. See, if I had paid more attention, I could be making, margaritas that could win a contest. So,
my forward-thinking teenage self.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, I'm still mad at my guidance counselor for not telling me that, jobs like brewmaster and whiskey taster existed, Because
those brand ambassador?
Those jobs do exist. Man, where did I go wrong?
How fun,
anyway,
right?
I'm sorry, I interrupted
so
you. So you go to this competition at Warehouse Live.
That was a big challenge because it's such a big competition. You have to make enough margaritas for about 300 people.
Wow.
Oh, that's all.
So
I bet your shaking arm was getting a little tired.
So this is the thing.
I hope Humidor provided the tequila.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
they did. And so the thing is that you have to pre-batch everything. Because right there, you're going to have lines of people and tasting and lots of stuff going on. So you can't be and you have to talk to people. Luckily, two of my friends, my coworkers, they came with me to help me out with the whole thing and yelling and, the whole mayhem going on. So this is where the science came in. I pre-batched the whole margarita for 253. No, actually, I made enough for about 350, 400 people.
Wow.
And this is where it gets cool. You know how much lime juice and lemon juice you would need to make such batch?
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, when was this?
This was on July the 13th.
Okay, because I remember specifically mid-July, there was a real lime shortage at the store where I shop. And I'm just wondering if that's because you were down there buying up all the limes.
Well, no, actually, this is the cool part. Just give me a rough estimate. How many limes do you think I would have used?
So for 400 and...
It's what, 50, 75 limes? Am I even in the ballpark?
I'm guessing more like 150.
I used 20 limes and 10 lemons.
How would that possibly have been enough? I use when I make margaritas, I use half a lime for 2 margaritas.
It's.
But maybe I'm not doing it right.
He's
science.
Gonna drop some
It's
science.
Oh,
The more you know.
Going to be a science bomb here on Smoking and Toasting. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really interested to hear this because maybe I used too much lime.
Well, that's just to get to the lime juice part.
Okay.
If you're using fresh squeezed lime, which I'm hoping anybody that's making something at home, they're not buying the concentrate thing that they see those little green bottles.
If you're not using fresh squeezed lime, just don't admit it.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, and take those little freezer
little
canister things that are soft in the middle, have tin on the ends. Just use those in your cooler to keep stuff cool when you're. Cause they work really great for that. Like little ice packs. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry. You used your 50 limes and how many lemons?
I used 20 limes and 10 lemons.
20 limes and 10. That just doesn't seem like enough.
And 1 orange.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about all of this because this is going to be great. This is totally challenging my thought process when it comes
Even
to margaritas.
my understanding of the margarita.
Yeah. Now, I will admit this. There are a number of places that I've gone and ordered margaritas that I found to be far superior to other places.
Yeah.
But to be completely honest with you, I thought they were using my margarita secret, which is I look at the margarita recipe and I invert it. If it says 2 parts of all of the other stuff and 1 part tequila, I make it 2 parts tequila and 1 part of all the other stuff. So that's what I thought these guys were doing that made their margaritas
The best
good.
margarita I've ever had was made by this guy. I have no idea what his name was. He worked at this event center where I had tickets to go see Molly Hatchet. And this was
Flirting with disaster, baby.
Anyway, but tickets to see Molly Hatchet, and we were.
By the way, that made us sound even older than the Pee Wee reference earlier. Just so you know,
somebody gave them to me. I was like, okay, but so we were at the event center. We were at the bar next to it. And I don't think it's really an event center anymore, but this dude was behind the bar. We were just fascinated watching. And Tiffany goes, my wife, Tiffany goes, he's making those from scratch. Every single margarita he's making from scratch.
Like one at a time?
Yes.
Wow.
And so we ordered a couple, and this guy was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was everywhere doing everything. And he was not only making margaritas from scratch, but he was outpacing every other bartender there by far.
I love it.
I mean, he was unbelievable. And it had to be chemically altered or something. It was crazy, crazy watching this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we ordered a couple margaritas.
Like the
and
wedding drummer in that video?
I know this is the tough guy.
Yeah.
But he's squeezing the limes and he's doing other stuff. He's got all this stuff. Next thing you know, we got these like absolutely fresh margaritas. They're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
No idea like
what he did,
whatever
yeah.
happened to that guy. He's working at this random event
stuff
center
was flying around. Yeah.
on 45 South. It was crazy.
Well, I'm really excited about this because honestly, it does really challenge my thoughts about how to make a margarita. And I feel like my margaritas are pretty good, but a chance to make them better, a chance to make them more like the award-winning margarita.
And this will not only be for your margarita because this anything that uses. Well, we all know that many or most cocktails that are not just like a steered style like a Manhattan, or they all have an acid base.
Right.
Lime, lemon, orange, grapefruit. So this is gonna work for that. I'm still working on my grapefruit recipe, which I have to perfect it.
Love it. All right. This is going to be good. And I don't. Before we move on though, did you win the competition?
Yes, I did.
So it was 5 of you.
5
I wanted to hear about the
5
blood,
finalists.
sweat, and tears, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. There was drama. There was like the this bartender staring. Mean mugging the other bartender, and the long pauses and the sweat coming down on one side of the forehead.
There was a little bit because an actual friend of mine, he was in the competition too.
So there was a little smack talking going on. Yeah,
he was a little bit like he was. I just know he was not looking at me very nicely.
Yeah, well, see, no, and sometimes that's what makes it fun. I mean, I'm about to do this week. I'll do my fantasy football draft, right? And I don't play fantasy football because of the football. I play fantasy football because of the smack talk. I love like mixing it up with the other guys I'm playing against, and talking about their mamas and stuff. That's what makes it fun. But your buddy, how did he react to you after you won?
Well, he didn't even say bye to me.
Oh, see the bartender. See the bartender segment of the community. We're finding out real insight into what that's like.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was a little bit bummed because, I mean, I
thought
did,
he would congratulate you, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did this in a fun way. Like for me, going to a competition, which for some reason I don't go to competitions very often or do stuff like that. I just like doing my own stuff and making people happy. Like if you come, my friend Ian come see me, I know he's gonna enjoy what I make, stuff like that,
Wow.
But if I had not won, I would have been like, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to learn what did I do wrong, what can I do better.
Well,
learning
more,
stuff.
Yeah.
If he won, I want to go to him and be like, what do you do different? I want to learn.
It's like being on Iron Chef with William Shatner. Do you ever see that when William Shatner was the host of the Iron Chef? It was awesome because he's like, they're that's a show where they get the random ingredients and they have to make something out of them, and he's like, you have salmon
and
a lime.
which is funny.
What are you going to make with salmon and lime?
It's funny because I'm working on something like that right now with my friend Will. We're working on an Instagram series for Herradura, and he gave me a list of random ingredients, which is the cherry vanilla Coke that you tried.
Right.
Interesting.
I'm deconstructing a cherry vanilla Coke and making it from scratch.
Oh, I bet that would be good from scratch. I bet that would be awesome.
And I carbonated it myself, and well, it was not carbonated by this morning. But
Well, so before you go, I want to make sure that we give everybody all the information about, your Instagram channel. I know you've got some stuff on YouTube that
Yes.
people can check out. So, because this is really interesting stuff, because the world has changed.
Yeah,
Ian,
oh, yeah.
Because at this point in time, anything that you need to do, that you need to accomplish, that you don't know how to do, you can learn how to do on YouTube. It's
Yes.
amazing how much stuff is out there. So if it's about like making drinks, man, you got to check out his YouTube stuff.
Yeah,
'cause he'll show you.
it's a very young channel still. I started about 2 months ago.
If it's about drinking drinks, you need to check out my channel.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Today I'm drinking, Yeah, exactly. It works out perfectly. Well, I'll say it for you so you don't have to say it. If you like what you see on his channel, make sure to click the button to subscribe,
Please.
and click the bell so that you can be notified of
Thank you.
future
And with
episodes.
that voice, it's even better.
But see, every YouTube channel, they say that every episode, and
Yeah.
I understand why. You got to,
but
yes.
they don't get the cruise voice.
Well, it's
That is a special
that's
thing.
probably a good thing in the end. But
No.
No, but what you can do is you can edit what he just said out of this show,
Yeah.
and then every time on your channel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and if you want a lot of old people to follow your channel, I'll do it for you, like with my Casey Kasem impression. It's like,
Have you ever
remember
told
to subscribe and click the bell to get information when we drop a new episode.
That's a little uncanny, actually.
Nice.
Here's a long distance dedication for Irma in California, who wanted to know how to make a margarita.
Have you ever told Cruz that story of when I was at Specs and I sent you a text message about
Well, because
it?
you were hearing my voice on the Specs
I
radio.
swear to God, I was at Specs like just looking for stuff, and then all of a sudden it kept bugging me and bugging me and bugging me, and I was like,
Well, yeah.
I swear to God, I grabbed my phone like, Ian, does Cruz have anything to do?
Yeah, so what he's talking about is the company that we're in the studio of now, which is my company. We do the in-store radio for Specs Radio, and so if you're in Specs, checking out the wine, sometimes you'll hear me come on and go, "Hey, we got a great selection of
Check
craft
out
beer. Go check it out.
specials,
What
this
specials
thing,
are they got?" So
Yeah.
so that's what that's about. But I'd just like to point out, by the way, that you guys actually did like my Casey Kasem impression, which kind of now brings me back to zero after the Barry Gibb, because
I
was
don't know.
I was way underwater.
I mean, there's a
with the Barry
deficit from the
Gibb.
Barry Gibb thing. Yeah, that's a tough
All
one.
right, fair enough. All right, we got a lot to do today on the show and a lot of fun stuff to accomplish. We haven't even gotten into our cigars yet, so we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and you can let us know. I assume, since your shirt says you can't hurry up and smoke a cigar, I assume that you have had the time this week and the opportunity. Now you're doing NPR on me.
I did.
All right, so Ian will give us an NPR-style review of his cigar when we return.
Yes, I will, Cruz.
It's Smoking and Toasting. Having a good time, Ian?
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Me too.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And the fine spirits will be blended into a cocktail today, as we'll be doing a little margarita making.
Yeah.
Every show, by the way, I try to give the show a title so that if you're looking at it on YouTube or whatever, maybe something will catch your interest, make you. So today's title I gave the show was "When Life Gives You Limes, Make Margaritas."
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
right. Which is better than lemons and lemonade, right? So, I thought that was creative and clever. And so we have a lot of stuff going on the show today. Our guest is multi-talented mixologist Roberto Rivas Villar, and Roberto is going to make us the margarita that won the contest.
It was a Houston Press,
Yeah.
the best Texas Margarita.
And it was sponsored by El Jimador, and I apologize because my phone is ringing. It was sponsored by El Jimador, and that was a pretty impressive contest to win. Because how many bartenders or mixologists were involved in it from the very beginning? Was it just anybody over town could
Actually,
enter?
they didn't tell me that much information, but I do know that in the beginning we were 20 between Houston and Dallas. But I think anybody can submit, or some of the main accounts from Jimador, they're invited.
Yeah.
So the initial selection process, I'm not sure exactly what was the criteria.
Well, I'm telling you, it's an impressive thing, to win, and so I'm really excited about this. Now, how much of the secret of this are you going to actually share with us?
I have no problem sharing my.
Oh, okay, good. See, this is
I'm here
good.
to teach people. I love training bartenders, teaching people.
I love it. All right, so we're going to get to that coming up a little later in the show. We also have the return, of course, as we do every week, of the most popular segment here on Smoking and Toasting. It's something we do later in the show, and it's a little something called Drinking News. And this week's Drinking News teaser headline: The genius of New York Yankees fans knows no bounds. And I'm not a New York Yankees fan, so for me to admit that is, you'll want to hear the story.
Is this going to make us fans of New York Yankees fans?
It might make, yeah. It's entirely possible that you'll become a fan.
Distinguished from fans of
the New York Yankees.
Of the Yankees, yes.
Yeah. I'm almost certain you'll become, well, I don't know. It is a little polarizing. But I will say that I sort of became a fan of at least one New York Yankees fan. And he's the one we'll be telling you about on today's Drinking News.
Nice.
So looking forward to that. So, Ian, tell me about your cigar this week. What did you have an opportunity to smoke, sir?
It was good. Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, we're done with the NPR link.
Oh, yeah.
So this week, usually I get up and have my cigar right before we come to the show.
Right? Yeah.
This week I had my cigar on Thursday, where I pod crashed a one Mr. Alan Denny and Doug Messinger.
Nice.
Doing their Ash and Mash podcast. I was on an episode of that. If you listen to last week's episode, I was actually on the one that aired last week.
Was that the one you crashed?
It was a lot of fun. No. The one that I crashed will be aired this week or the week after.
Okay. So you were on and then you came back again unannounced.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I came back because they had Aganorsa Leaf in the house.
Oh.
I love Aganorsa.
And the president of Aganorsa Leaf was there, Mr. Fernandez himself.
Nice.
And if you remember, we had a rep from Aganorsa Leaf that came on the show. Was one of our earliest cigar reps, and he was here in the studio. We didn't actually get to have a cigar
We didn't get to
with
smoke with him, yeah.
But it was right before they changed their name from Casa Fernandez to Aganorsa Leaf.
Right.
And he talked a bit about that. It was really interesting because he's, AJ Fernandez's name is so big, it was causing
a
lot of confusion
yeah.
in the market. So they just went ahead.
His name is Fernandez too, but it's kind of like somebody already had established.
Well, he mentioned even on a show, he's like in Spanish, Fernandez is like Smith.
It's a very common Spanish,
incredibly
surname.
common name. So they decided to opt to change the name to Aganorsa Leaf, and I talked to him about that, and that was pretty nice. But he handed me a cigar that I had during the show. Now, I didn't participate in that show. I just hung out in the background and watched them do the show. But I smoked this cigar, and I had just lit it. And I thought to myself, why am I not going to go ahead and review this cigar?
Yeah, you should. Absolutely.
So nice. I got out my trusty notes on my phone and started doing it. So I skipped the first picture because I already had the cigar lit. So you won't actually see a picture of it, but maybe I can find a picture of it on a stock photo online and post it right here. That's for you, Adam, right here.
You're just giving Adam some work.
Making it work for it. And anyway, so this Aganorsa Leaf that he gave is beautiful. The cigar itself has this beautiful white band on it with silver lettering, a secondary band. It's a box press, rich dark chocolate, smooth, slightly oily, small veins, medium firmness, beautiful brown and silver band on this one, and a small coin band that had two coins on it as well. The footer covers the remainder of the cigar. And now the first picture that you'll see of mine will not have that footer on it, but it's worth looking up.
Worth checking out, yeah.
So this was the Nicaragua Anniversario Maduro version of it. The pre-light sniff on this: rich earth, mocha, coffee, and leather. The pre-light draw: leather, earth, coffee, mocha. I think I just said the same thing in 2 orders. But kind of how it hits my palate is how I write it down. So that's the way I got it. The initial light on this: Nicaraguan soil. So.
Right, that very
in the
earthy
best way. So it had a bit of the Nicaraguan pepper blast, but it wasn't a huge. It had this earth in it.
More about the earthiness.
That was so good that hit the palate right off the bat. Earth, big mineral spice, pepper. That's what I got on the initial light on this. The first third, earthy and rich bitter chocolate layered with leather, and a sweet peppery foundation. Hints of cinnamon, white pepper, and brownie batter weave throughout the palate. Retro Hills, sweet chocolate, pepper, and dark toast. Solid ash, good burn. Listen, if you guys like a medium plus cigar that has a lot of sweetness but also has a lot of spiciness to back up that sweetness, this thing, sweet and spicy on the second third. Leather notes are more prominent. Gently charred toast offsets the sweet brownie batter and spicy white pepper background. Retro Hills, dark chocolate, leather, pepper, and a woody note. Solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
You'll see it in that picture over here. The last third of the cedar presents itself, and along with rich earth and leather, keeps the palate interesting. Sweet brownie batter and bitter chocolate are a constant companion. Retro Hills, cedar, sweet chocolate, leather, pepper, solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
You're going to buy this cigar for $12-ish.
Oh.
This is not a cheap cigar, and it's not a huge cigar either, but it burned for a solid hour easily.
Nice.
So 5.5. You get
Wow.
you get a little bit more than you're
what you
paying
paid
for, even
So
at $12.
At a $12 cigar, that's not bad at all.
It was absolutely fantastic. And then, part of enjoying a cigar like that is enjoying your environment too. So I was sitting in the Vinyl Draft Cigar Lounge, which is a beautiful cigar lounge, by the way. If you're ever in the Kemah area,
Yeah, I'm a little jealous of those guys because they can smoke on the show.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
which we can't do. In
Yeah,
our-
I know
in
it's a
our studio
beautiful, beautiful cigar lounge too.
We got to get out
Comfortable
more.
chairs. Right, and then on top of that, I'm sitting there with the man who created this cigar, and and he's so nice. The rep was absolutely nice, so we had just such a nice time. And then that guy Alan was there too.
He's the nice Fernandez. This guy. So, we've heard stories about my hero, AJ Fernandez, not being as pleasant.
It's weird though because we met him once.
He was very pleasant
And
when
he's
we
very
met him.
nice.
Of course, we had to have. He doesn't speak English, so
We did
had
have a translator, so he could have said whatever.
Yeah.
But he did it with a very nice, how you doing, and a handshake.
Mr.
So.
Fernandez, I love your cigars. What's Spanish for screw you? Yeah, no.
But no, he was really nice to us, even with the translator and everything. We had a
he
short
was super
conversation
cool.
that day. It was
He
very nice.
super cool. We met him at Stogie's. It was a fun day for us.
But
we had a good time.
Mr. Fernandez from Aganor Salif was so incredibly nice and just an earnest guy.
Well, I thought maybe you could open up our first beer while I tell you about the cigar that I smoked this week. Kind of an unusual one, a very unique cigar. I smoked the Drew Estate Undercrown Sun-Grown 2021 Dojo Dogma. And it's a very unique cigar. As I said, it's almost as thick as a nub, but it's box pressed. So I think, or at least I thought when I started to smoke it, I thought this may be the thickest box pressed cigar that I've ever smoked. The original Underground Dojo Dogma was a Maduro cigar and a collaborative project between Drew Estate, online retailer Smoke Inn, that's INN, and the popular website Cigar Dojo. Then last year, Drew Estate released its cousin, this sun-grown Dojo Dogma.
Right.
That's because, of course, they use the medium brown Ecuadorian Sumatra sun-grown wrapper. The binder is a Connecticut stalk-cut, cured, sun-grown Habano leaf, and the filler tobacco, all Nicaraguan. It's listed as being 5x54, but because of the shape, the cigar feels a lot thicker than that, just because the sides are square. Pre-light sniff and the cold draw were both all about barnyard, which surprised me a little. because sometimes with Nicaraguan cigars, of course, the sun-grown wrapper maybe had a lot to
Right.
do with that. But sometimes Nicaraguan cigars, I'm expecting more earth and leather and maybe even chocolate. It was very grassy, the vibe of damp hay, which is not an unpleasant smell,
No, not
but
at
it's
all.
very distinct.
If you've ever been out on a farm or farmland area and gotten up in the morning and you smell that
Yeah.
damp hay in the
Right.
air, it's actually really pleasant.
The only time the damp hay is not pleasant is if it's damp because the horse peed on it. That would be the
There's
unpleasant
that,
damp
mucking
hay.
out the
but
stall is not all that fun.
Yeah, but I digress. Anyway, I used a punch and lit the cigar, and it was about then that I remembered that I actually have had a cigar this size and shape, and it was also a Drew Estate smoke. The Acid Deep Dish, which is one of their infused cigars,
Okay, I've
is
never had one of
exactly
those.
like that. It's square, and it's 5 by 54. I actually looked it up to make sure I was right about the dimensions, and I was. It's also 5 by 54.
They're like,
Anyway.
we got to use this mold for something.
Yeah, right. So this one's not infused, and I'm expecting the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast, and I didn't get one. So you can thank Drew Estate for you guys not getting my bad Barry Gibb impression this week. And
So
and,
bad.
and I know, and you could put a stop to it. That's the thing.
One of these days,
you could end it.
I've got to
Yeah.
I've got to plug in my computer and start doing some recording.
I did get some pepper, though. Red pepper and some other spice that I finally identified as nutmeg. I was like, is that cinnamon? Like, sometimes, you're getting a hint of something. You're
It's
trying
hard to parse
trying
it
to
out, yeah.
parse it out. I finally went with nutmeg. Really was just those two notes at first, but as the cigar warmed up, I got some leather and a little bit of cedar. Moving into the second third, I started to pick up some minerality, which is kind of interesting in a cigar. Used to it more in a spirit,
Right.
but in a cigar, kind of interesting to get. And there was a note that was kind of like dried oats. You know what, like oatmeal smells like if you just open up the little round
Right,
top
right.
and just smell the oats. There was also leather and white pepper on the retrohale. The ash held on spectacularly. And I thought it was going to be real flaky at first, but it held on like crazy. And as you can see in this photo, it was about to burn the first band, so I tipped it off and removed the band so I could keep on smoking. In the final third, the red pepper continued, but it mellowed out somewhat. I got notes of buttered toast and almost a caramel-like sweetness along with more oats. Construction on the cigar was quite good, which is, I think, pretty impressive given the uniqueness of this really thick square box press. I did one touch-up, which is not bad, again, considering the shape. It was medium-bodied. I thought maybe even just slightly less than medium, but it was still enough to leave a little bit of that tang on my tongue that I kind of enjoy. The sun-grown Dojo Dogma is available nationwide. It was originally only a limited release through Smoke Inn, but now it's available nationwide. I got mine at the Humidor at Specs in Midtown Houston, so if you want to try one of these, you should be able to find it. Ultimately, I liked the cigar, although I didn't like it quite as much as I love just a good undercrown Maduro. That
We talked
Maduro.
about the
Such a good
Probably
cigar.
one of my all-time favorite cigars.
Such
It's
a
so
good one.
good. It was a nice change of pace for me, though, even though it has quite a bit of Nicaraguan tobacco. It was very different from most of the Nicaraguan cigars that I usually smoke. So coming in at $10 to $11, I will give the cigar a solid 5 on the price-to-quality scale. I will recommend it and say thumbs up. I liked it quite a bit. And
Nice.
and particularly for a change, if you like Nicaraguan cigars, but you're kind of in to where what you've been smoking is all kind of got the same sort of vibe and flavor combination. This one really is different, so it's definitely worth checking out. So all right, you poured us a beer. Tell us about it.
It's a good beer.
Oh, see, this NPR thing is not working for me. It's just not working for me.
It's good.
What are we drinking here?
So this is the Back Pew, and we've had some of their beers on the show here. They're here in Houston area. Actually, they're
I wasted no time.
he's
There
like
may
all
be
over.
more in the can. I don't know, but
There's a label covering their address, but are they?
me find
They're
Houston. Yeah.
They're Houston area.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if there's outside. This is called Kingsbrau Festbier. Mm-hmm. Crisp malt forward and light on the palate for all day drinking. Dry hop with Hofbrau. Something hops. It's a little hard to read for a
It's gonna be
bright.
in Porter, Texas.
Oh, they're
Porter,
in Porter, Texas.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
For bright and grassy aroma, similar to Sauvignon Blanc. Gotcha.
Well, it implies that it's an Oktoberfest, which is good because that's exactly what it tastes like.
It has
Yeah.
some of that character to it. It's not as spicy is not the right word. It doesn't have as much like baking
Spice.
Baking
I know,
spice
I know
kinda
what you're talking
thing
about.
in it.
Yeah.
And I feel
Pretzely.
like Oktoberfest typically they go a lot towards the caramel notes sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
But this one is a little.
This is good though. Like
This is
it's good up front, like right on the initial palate. It's very malty, and then it finishes with a crisp, but not a real hoppy crisp.
Right.
Just kind of
Yeah.
a crisp, slightly bitter, slightly bitter.
Do we know if this is a
Our new
season?
producer's getting
Yeah.
used to showing me how to do stuff here. But slightly bitter, almost like a ESB, but not as bitter. You know,
Right. Is this? Do we know if this is a seasonal or if it's available year round?
I don't know. I saw it at the store earlier today. We stopped at Specs to pick up a few of the things he needed, and it was at the store earlier. So I don't know if it's seasonal or not.
I would think it's because it says Festbier. I would think it's
So yeah,
That
maybe.
it's
It's
kind of for the
precisely-
Oktoberfest
yeah.
season. Yeah.
You know, I
Probably
like
so.
that kind of thing.
It's good. It's very malty. So I'm not surprised that you like this because you're a very malt forward kind of guy
do
when
like
it comes to your
malty
beer.
beers.
Yeah.
Multi beers are delicious.
Which makes some sense. Well, we're going to have some interesting ones to try today. This is the King's Brau Festbier from Back Pew. You've also brought along 11 Below Brewing's 2021 Big Mistake, which is their Imperial Stout,
Yes.
which we'll be getting to. And then something really interesting that I understand came from your collection, Roberto.
Yes.
The Prairie Artisan Ales Double Dunk Imperial Stout. This is the beer that's brewed with Oreo cookies.
yes.
Nothing. You would have to really go out of your way to mess up something brewed with Oreo cookies. Like,
Hell yeah.
I'm expecting this to be
Oreo
quite
cookie
good.
flavor.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just hard to go wrong
It
with.
really is. It's
They
just
have
it's just
they have
amazing.
another one called Fudge or Fudge something like that. It's a brown with
brownie
Prairie,
batter.
Prairie Artisan Ales, which I believe is out of Oklahoma.
It's here in Houston.
Oh, do they have a brewery here?
It's it's in like Huntsville or something like that.
Oh no, this says brewed and bottled by Krebs Brewing, Krebs, Oklahoma.
This one, really?
Yeah, because we've had Prairie Artisan Ales on the show before, and I thought they came from Oklahoma, which always kind of
I know what I'm
surprised me
saying.
because I just don't think of Oklahoma.
Are you thinking of?
as being
you thinking
really,
of the one in Conroe?
of Ingenious?
No, that's in Humble. Go
Oh,
north,
sorry.
even further.
Southern
You-
Star.
Southern Star. This might be what you think.
It's been a day, you know. It definitely.
those
Ian
days.
can tell you it's been a weird day for me.
Well, it's about to get weirder because you're on Smoking and Toasting. So. No, but I don't mean this as a dig at Oklahoma, but I just don't think of it as a place where you would find such a progressive brewery. And by that I mean
Apparently
as
there's-
crazy as some of the stuff they do is.
But
you
didn't
know?
we have an article about like there's one town in Oklahoma that has a bunch of breweries and stuff?
Was it Oklahoma?
Wasn't it?
I don't
Where
know.
was it?
May have been. I don't remember now. But anyway, with whatever's in the water where these guys are,
Where Prairie is?
it's pretty interesting because these guys come up with some of the most unusually
they're way
creative
outside the
beers.
box.
Yeah, that they really are. So I'm very excited to try.
But I mean,
this one.
Oreo, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, well,
But awesome.
yeah, I, was
Like, I
gonna
can't
say,
wait to try that.
The awesome factor is off the charts. So
They do come with some like their Christmas bombs every
Yeah,
year.
the
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
bombs. We've had a few of those on.
those are good, and I started to get excited thinking about this because I mean, in the middle of summer, although it is almost September, but in the middle of summer, the Oktoberfests start to come out.
Yes,
and then
and-
once the Oktoberfest hit, we're not far from the Anchor Christmas Ale, which is one of the things I look forward to every year.
And
That
you
year's
can
release.
tell when you walk outside because the weather's turned from being lingering around 100 and 105 to now being a paltry, like you almost need a sweater, 95.
Yeah, I was going to say it's cooled way off to 95 degrees.
But recently, at least our humidity's up. Mm-hmm. Like it
Yeah.
was 87% like yesterday.
And it's supposed to rain like every day for the next 6 years, I understand. So I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, we got more beer tasting to do. I'm really excited because coming up here in just a couple of segments, we're going to have Roberto make us this margarita. I'm excited to learn how to make it, but even more than that, I'm excited to drink it. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Hell
So,
yeah.
so we'll take a break, and we will return. It's Smoking and Toast in this program, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled
love
cigars.
those things.
And we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My co-host holding the beer, waiting for the sound effect is Mr. Ian Barry. Welcome to the show. Running the board and behind the cameras, Keegan Lucas is with us. John Lee is here, and Adam, our producer in the cloud. So thank you to everybody who is part of making this show. I never thought this show would be important enough for this many people to touch it every week. So it's a pretty cool thing. So welcome back to the program. We are going to bring you drinking news here in just a little bit. We're going to make margaritas here in just a little bit. But first, I thought we should go ahead and jump right into the Imperial Stout because, why not? It's halfway through the show, right? Ian, the beer we usually wait for the end, we'll just jump right in here. Because we've had all the beers that are less
depends on which
than
Imperial
11.5.
Stout you want to have first.
Well, aren't they both about 11.5%?
No, this one's
11.95.
11.9.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
And this one is a paltry 11.9.
Okay. Well, I thought we were doing okay here. So, all right. So, tell me about this beer. This is from 11 Below, right?
Yes, this is 11 Below's 2021 Big Mistake. Apparently, they make a big mistake every year.
Right.
And so it'll change from year to year. This is a
I
barrel-aged
thought
stout.
I made a mistake last year, but I was wrong.
So this is their 2021 barrel-aged stout, 11.95% alcohol by volume, 69 IBUs. After surviving a hell of a year, Big Mistake is back in action for the sixth vintage. This hot rod stout idled in a 65-35 blend of Yellow Rose distilling rye and bourbon barrels before being permitted for awesome. Mm-hmm. I like the way they go about it. Drink it like you stole it and tell your mom we said hey. That's literally reading it. 11 Below is fun. I've actually been to their brewery. It's hot.
Yeah.
It's just
is
a
it
warehouse.
hot like Brash?
Yeah, it's
oh
like
my God,
Brash. It's
is
just
like the
hot.
hottest brewery I've ever been to.
But it's a real cool area, and the people there are real nice. I like a lot of their beers, man. I think, like, I've talked about them on the show. I think they can't do much wrong, man. Their Oktoberfest is outstanding. Their Oso Bueno is outstanding. Mm-hmm. They got a beer called Taco Tuesday. They don't really like that much, but they have a beer called Taco Tuesday, and
So you got
that's
to give it up
outstanding.
for that. Yes.
Hipster sauce is pretty good. I like hipster sauce.
Hipster sauce,
is their
if you like
IPA? Yep.
if you like the kind of lighter IPA, they got a bunch of stuff.
Well, this smells like a you opened up a bottle of maple syrup, and it
very
had
maple
some
syrup,
beer
yeah.
in it. Is what it smells like. It's so boozy and mapley on the nose.
Why don't we age maple syrup in beer? I don't know, because that would make my pancakes
That's going to
much
make the
more
pancake
exciting.
experience is going to be awesome. My first surprise, though, when I taste this, is I was expecting one of those really thick mouthfeel Imperial Stouts. It's not quite that thick. It's more.
That's a medium viscosity.
It's more of a
I think.
medium. Yeah.
It's also very, very date, like crushed date,
Big
Yes.
time.
kind of forward on this, and a maple syrup, like, and then a bitter chocolatey finish to
Right.
it. It's not coffee.
No, it's bitter chocolate.
Like usually you expect coffee. I was expecting coffee, and I got no coffee.
like-
I got bitter chocolate.
It's like the cocoa nibs, like the actual.
Right. It really is. It's got a very organically chocolate feel
It's
to it.
interesting because it's very sweet up front with the fig and the
And then the finish is not sweet at all.
yeah, and then the finish is dry and dark and rich, like a coffee, but not coffee flavored.
Right,
So
agreed.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of dig it.
It's got a little bit of an acidic finish to it, kind of a cool way.
And no chunks, which I am happy about. So.
Haven't noticed any chunks in it yet. I don't mind chunky beers though.
So they do the Big Mistake every year. Is it always a stout?
It's always an Imperial stout. I understand it's
Yeah.
always an Imperial stout, a barrel-aged stout.
A barrel aged, yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure they changed things around. Like this one you said,
Sure,
it was
yeah.
like...
Yeah, this is a 65-35 blend of Yellow Rose distilling rye and bourbon barrels before being permitted for awesome.
and actually,
And it's their sixth one, apparently. So
and apparently they were expecting to do this particular one a year earlier, But Yellow Rose apparently was a no-show, so they had to wait to get the barrels. And
Yellow
it took them a little.
Rose.
Took them a little longer.
They didn't
But,
show up for our show.
Yeah, twice. So anyway, but by the way, not to be confused with Yellow Rose, the beer that is brewed by Lone Pine Brewery
Yes, which
in
is
Magnolia,
quite good.
Texas, which is just a
You know,
fantastic
they do weird
IPA.
stuff there, and I
They
kind
do.
of love them for it. But the bottles were always a little different, right? There's a bigger, thicker
it
bottle.
wasn't a bomber,
The bomber.
not quite a bit as big as
and
a
it
bomber.
came in
but
a
it was,
4-pack.
Yeah, and
And
now
it-
they've gone to cans.
And now they've gone to cans, but they have this weird 6-pack holder, like this kind of
I know.
pressed.
It's
pressed
definitely
paper kind
it's
of
definitely
thing.
recyclable something.
Yeah.
But it's not just
It's so
paper
different.
or cardboard. It's got some elasticity.
Like those
to
guys,
it.
they
I don't
just
know.
have to be like
They
south
have
of
to be
normal,
different.
you know.
Well, and if you look at any of their beer, I mean, Yellow Rose IPA is the only quasi-normal beer I've had from them. The others are all
outstanding. I've got
very
the Gentleman's
interesting.
Relish. Their brown ale is real good, and I got a 6-pack of it last week. That I think I've got
Didn't
one
they
left.
do a
It's the
Scottish
nitro
ale
one.
that was outstanding
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have the Tornado Shark too.
Yes,
Tornado
I've had
Shark,
that. That's pretty
yes.
serious. That's a pretty
And
serious
they're not afraid to
beer.
do them on nitro either. I've had the Tornado Shark on nitro and the Gentleman's Relish on nitro, which are both
And
very
we've
good.
talked about this before, but when we had their brewmaster on the show, he actually brought a beer. He brought a bunch of beers in growlers, right? So we wouldn't really be able to see what it was. And one of them he pours, he hands it to us, and I just absolutely love their beers, right? And Ian and I are sipping this, and both of us are kind of like, this is okay, but it's not great. Like all of your other beers are great, and so you're starting to think about, okay, how do you say this when the guy's sitting right there, but still be honest, right? Like, and so I don't remember exactly how we approached it, but I know we were very delicately trying to say, yeah, this one's not my favorite of the batch, and he's like, yeah, I don't really like this one. Or, this one's not that
You're
good.
like,
And we were like, oh, thank God. But I thought it said a lot about their confidence in how good their beer is.
Yeah.
That he was willing to do that, right?
when he left, I was like, I think that guy was testing us.
I think he was. He wanted to see if we were just going to kiss his ass regardless, right?
right? Like some of them are.
And then on top of that, he didn't even bring the Yellow Rose.
In fact, the title of that episode, if you go back and look through the back episodes, is "Best IPA Ever," and they didn't bring it. But that was
I've
a
had
fun
some
show.
good stuff from. I remember you remember when the conservatory still existed, which was now is the underground hole in Main Street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they had one of the Yellow Roses there, like cask conditioned, infused with jasmine,
Oh wow!
and it was amazing.
Now that sounds like it would either be really good or really awful. Well, you know what I mean?
I thought the same, and the
For
guy,
the price of a beer, it's worth trying. Though.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, absolutely.
and it was amazing. I just happened to pass by, and the guy was there.
Now you play in a band that's actually played at the brewery, right? I have not been to the brewery.
We'll be playing up there again. Actually, I think in
December?
November or December. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I invited you out to that.
I think you did.
So, but yeah, the brewery's really nice, man. They got this nice like outdoor area. They throw open the flaps and serve from the bar there. And there's a big outdoor patio, stuff like this. Really set up. Stage in the corner. It's really nicely set up.
Wow.
They got pretty decent bathrooms and stuff like that for a whole.
How many beers
outdoor
they
area.
have on tap at the brewery?
All of them.
All.
Yeah, I mean they have like I was pretty amazed at what they had on tap. They had their whole lineup plus some things you can't get.
Yeah, that's what
like
I
I
was
said.
hoping
They had the Tornado Shark on nitro and the Gentleman's Relish I think on nitro, and then they had the regular CO2 versions of those as well. And then they had of course the Yellow Rose. They had the they always have funny names for their beers
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which. I'm
And
The-
great
the-
artwork. Great artwork too.
Did they have the Neighbor the Beast one or no? That
Yes.
was
yes,
it them?
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one in forever.
Neighbor
I haven't
of the
seen one.
Beast,
Maybe
yeah.
they had a bunch of
it was
their
like
beers on there.
665 or 667.
667.
Yeah.
Neighbor of the Beast. Yeah,
I
love
remember I used to love that one. I haven't even thought about that beer.
Yeah, it's been a while since I thought. But anyway, so they had all the stuff that they have on tap. And,
They're for
and
real,
A few
these
things
guys.
you can't get. So
They're
it's
for
really
real.
nice, yeah.
And Tornado Shark, which is only seasonally available in stores. I think they probably
And it's
got
way out in the country. It's in
Yeah.
Montgomery County. And,
I'll be coming
Magnolia,
to
right?
see it. I'll be coming to see you.
Yeah,
It'll
Magnolia.
be fun. It'll be fun.
Is it
All right,
yes,
we're going to take a
Margarita.
break. When we return, it's margarita time, and I'm really excited about this because we really want our guest Roberto Rivas Villar to make us the margarita that won the competition. I'm very excited. Smoking a toast.
You've been sitting there doing nothing long enough there, Roberto.
Yeah, it's time. It's time for you to go to work. We'll be right back.
Watch this.
Welcome back into Smoking and Toasting. We are the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian, before we start this segment and make the margaritas, have you ever ordered online from Thompson Cigar Company? You ever ordered anything from those guys? So Thompson is owned by the same guys that own Cigars International. Mm-hmm. So they are, in fact, really expanding the CI brand. They have opened a couple of stores up in the Dallas area, one in San Antonio, and now they're opening 2 in the greater Houston area. One will be in Katy, and the other was, if I remember correctly, Conroe. Yeah, so
Conroe's
so
getting
these are
closer
these
to
are
Houston.
both. Yeah, these are both. Yeah, it's kind of creeping
Or
closer.
Houston's
isn't
getting
it?
closer to Conroe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which
Yeah.
one.
These are both obviously Houston suburbs, bedroom communities, and really pretty bustling places of their own
For
right.
those of you out there that don't understand the subtext of Houston suburb, that is an hour away.
It's an hour away, and it is
Just so you know.
definitely its own functional city. It exists just fine without Houston, but it's still part of the greater Houston area. In any case, so they're really expanding the CI brand. Thompson was a smaller company that they acquired, I think, a number of years ago.
Thompson was their own thing. I
Right.
think started off as a brick and mortar and then did the online thing, and then they were bought out.
And so you've bought from Thompson before. I have. I don't buy from them often, but I bought from them before. Well, a Memphis woman ordered from Thompson Cigars, and she couldn't believe what she got instead of her cigars. She agreed to tell the story as long as her identity was kept hidden, because she said what happened is just too bizarre. Her story starts online. She ordered cigars from Thompson Cigar Company, their fulfillment center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is the same place that the other cigars for CI come from. So she said a box arrived on the 27th of July at her home. When she lifted it, her first sign, all might not be quite right, was how heavy they were. She said,
a box of cigars is pretty light.
Yeah, wow, these are heavy, she said. And when I opened it, to my surprise, it was filled with 100 blue Tennessee license plates. This is one of the most random stories ever. Yeah. An item many people, by the way, in Shelby County of Tennessee are desperate to actually get. You know, the year that this year, the state of Tennessee rolled out new plates, and they're blue with white lettering, and this rollout caused a giant backlog at the county clerk's office. There have been long lines wrapped around the building of people trying to get their license plates, but 100 of them got shipped to a woman who ordered cigars instead. It's just you said, my own license plate expired in July, but because I have 2 vehicles, I wasn't in a hurry because I don't want to stand in line to get them. And then she gets a box instead of cigars of 100 of them.
I mean, 98 of them.
Yeah. So she did show the reporters who covered the story the return address on the box, and it was Thompson Cigar Company.
Weird. How does that even get mixed up?
Yeah. Then there was a packing slip. She said it was sealed inside the box underneath the plates. And again, it was from the cigar company listing the order of the cigars she was supposed to have gotten. So the packing slip and the invoice says, it's whatever cigars she ordered, but instead it was 100 Tennessee license plates. So.
How does that happen? That's very weird.
Well, she called the cigar company, told them what happened. She said, well, they told her, well, that's impossible. That there's no way, that there's no way that you could have gotten license plates from our warehouse.
I wonder if there's some inspection stuff that they open packages or something, and they're just like,
I don't know. That's a good question. She finally drove the plates to a nearby UPS store, told them what happened, and she said they looked at her like she had a box of rattlesnakes. But then again, she's just frustrated. She wanted her cigars, damn it, not some useless license plates.
And Thompson didn't back her up on that?
Yeah, well, Thompson said there's no way it could have happened. We don't have access to any license plates. Couldn't have happened in our factory. Just one of those random, bizarre things. If Leonard Nimoy were still alive, he would be narrating this story on, what was that, strange occurrences show he used to do on PBS, whatever it was. Yeah, unexplained. Anyway, thought that was an interesting story. Thought you might enjoy hearing.
That's pretty fun.
So, all right, it is margarita time. In fact, there needs to be a song called "It's Margarita Time" because there is a great song for martinis. It's "Martini Time" by the Reverend Horton
Time,
Heat.
yeah.
And at my house, we have either Martini Mondays or sometimes it's Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what's going on. And that's how my wife knows that I've got the martinis ready. Because I put the Reverend Horton Heat on.
It's martini time.
And she's like, "Oh yeah," but there needs to be a good "It's Margarita Time" song. I don't think there is. There's certainly songs about tequila.
I mean, there's a Wasted Away again in Margaritaville song.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I'm not bashing Buffett, but maybe we need something else. It's Margarita Time. Maybe you could come up with that. You're a songwriter.
Well, I
You can
suppose
do
there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I could write a song about that.
All right. So speaking of Margarita Time, what are you going to school us with?
So
here, Roberto?
let's start with the science behind the juice that we were talking about. So there's something called a process that you guys might have heard of. It's called an oleus sacrum process, right? Which that's a process used to make the cordials and stuff like that. They use sugar with the peels of the fruit to extract
to extract the flavors. Yeah.
the flavors and the oils and everything. I do something called oleocitrate process, which instead of using sugar, I use acids.
And just out of curiosity, what put you on to this? Like, was it something scientific that you knew or read about that caused you to think of it this way?
So I'm always studying. I'm one of those persons that I'm always trying to, anything that I teach or anything that I do for bars or the people that I work with or what I'm hired to do, I try to make it as efficient to the places I can, functional, and of course defy the number one, make it efficient in a cost weight for the bar, right?
Right.
And the second one is make it effective and efficient for bartenders.
Okay.
So one of the biggest problems in the bar industry is how much waste we create regarding, especially with
Juices and fruits. Yeah, sure.
you guys, I'm sure you know this, how like you squeeze fresh lime juice. You have 1-2 days to use that. That's it.
Right.
And the next day is not even going to taste the same. It's already going to be very acid and very...
Absolutely. That's why so many recipes always stipulate fresh squeezed lime juice.
And that's because, limes, lemons, most citrus fruits, they're composed mainly of citric acid, malic acid, ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and succinic acid. Succinic acid is the one that makes oxidation happen. So if you can find a way to get rid of that succinic acid, then you have shelf-stable juice.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's how we start. I basically get...
This really is science. I mean, he's not kidding.
So I get all these limes that I talked about. I get all the peel. You got to make sure that you don't get that pith, too much of the white pith.
The white pulpy stuff.
Because the pith is going to make it very bitter. So you need to find a good peeler that just takes the
outside
peel.
edge.
So then I do an extraction process with citric acid and malic acid for about 3 hours. Then I tried many different formulas. I tried different ratios and stuff. I finally came to the one that I liked for myself. I have 3 different recipes that I use for different purposes. But there's one that is right in the middle that I use most of the time, which I use a ratio of, so let's say if I have 25 grams of lime peel, I use 0.4, like a times 0.4 ratio of citric acid and 0.312 of malic acid. And then water, whenever I'm done extracting, I do times 14, which you start in grams. So 25 grams, then you would have 250, like about 350 milliliters of water that you add, that you blend everything, and then you filter it, and you have your lime juice.
It's so metric.
So there's so much science here. I feel like I almost have to inject a conspiracy theory to counter it, right? Right. So I'm thinking that maybe which was the acid that oxidizes?
Succinic acid.
Yeah, I'm thinking the government puts that in the fruit in order to track you.
That's right.
It puts micro-sized little AI devices in your bloodstream and tracks you.
Yeah.
That's right.
So okay, that's ridiculous.
No, I believe it. I believe it. You need to go on Coast to Coast
Oh yeah, I do.
with George Norrie
I'll be
or
on
Art
Sean
Bell
Hannity
or
tomorrow.
whoever's on there now.
I'll be on Sean Hannity tomorrow night
Sean
with
Hannity.
my theory. So
The cool thing about this is that you can keep that juice for a long time.
right, so you're successful in doing this. You basically are able to remove the acid that causes the oxidation.
Exactly.
So it is more shelf stable.
Way
that's,
more shelf
That's
stable.
your first secret, right?
I want you guys to try this.
Okay.
You have one already.
So when I walked in and I saw you dancing around and waving your arms with your headphones on the other day, this is what you were doing?
When was this?
Just joking.
I was like, wait.
No, that was
I
called.
like that in his mind. He's like, there's a possibility.
There's
I was doing
no,
this.
a slight possibility.
Ian, that was actually called the Macarena. That's what that was.
So-
all right. So what do we? Is this your juice with the?
I think it would be funnier if I just give you random juice and then you guys have to tell me.
He's like doing the Lone Pine thing where he's trying.
And
to
everybody's
see if
got mine tastes
trying
like
to-
orange.
Trying to see if we're full of
What
it,
do you
right?
think?
I mean, it tastes like juice.
I love the tartness of it.
Right? Now I want you to try this one.
Okay.
We need 3 on that side and we need 1 here.
Okay. So the first one, and now we're trying the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is the second one actually just fresh squeezed lime?
Yes.
And the first one was
Super juice.
super juice.
Which, by the way, there's no way you can completely stop the effect of time in juice. But just to put in perspective, that juice was made a little bit over 2 weeks ago.
The super juice.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Wow, that's nuts. All right, so the super juice, I can see why you kind of call it that, not only because it can store longer, but it also feels like it's a little, the lime effect is a little more concentrated, the tartness.
Yes,
A
and
little more concentrated.
what this I love using super juice. This is not my thing at all. I don't want anybody to think that I came up with this crazy. This actually you can attribute it to a bartender named Nickel Morris. He's very widely known for starting this in the bar industry.
I like Nickelmore. I like that thrift shop song he did. Remember that rap song?
Really, I didn't even.
No, it's Macklemore. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. My
That's a
bad.
different more.
My bad.
No,
my
it's
bad.
Nickel Morris, and he
Nickel Morris. Okay. Oh, I got a little.
a little.
Little pulp.
It's
I was
this
enjoying
flavor
that
saver.
pulp.
He's the one who's attributed to starting this trend in the bar industry.
Of doing the super juice.
Exactly, and I learned, like I said, I always try to stay on top of my,
Of your
things.
trends. Yeah. What's going on?
and most of all, try to make things effective and efficient for the people that I work for and that hire me. I'm very lucky that the people that I work with right now, which is the people from Wild, it's in the Heights. You should totally check that place out.
Will do.
Yeah, they got another one coming up on
in
Richmond,
Montrose.
right? No, Montrose.
They're
Montrose.
so amazing, and they just like they just take my credit. Like, I want to do this. Okay, Roberto, go do your
They
thing.
really support your
Yeah,
creativity. That's awesome.
It's amazing, and they all are amazing people. I love working with them. It's like a small family that I have there. And
I went in there and hang out one night, and everyone up there loves them. They're all like, "Oh, you know him? You know him?" Stuff like that. you know?
We're buds. We're buds. We're tight.
it's amazing. It's amazing. If you haven't been there, anybody, I totally suggest visiting.
Yeah, pretty
We-
cool little bar.
We have anything hemp, like regarding the hemp product category.
Right?
Good cocktails.
You don't have to hemp, by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you can.
Yeah.
It's
can.
available there, but you don't
Yeah.
have to. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
just
saying.
don't want it in my beer.
They just
They're two great tastes that
That's
don't
why I'm saying
necessarily
that. They don't
taste
put
great
that in
together.
everything. Like
Yeah.
you ask
Yeah.
for it.
You have to, and we even have a dispensary side where you can buy the actual bud.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then-
Good to know. So then this super juice is what you're leading up to here, I think. Is
Yes.
that this is what you use in the margarita.
This is what I used, and there's a reason. So nothing ever is gonna substitute fresh squeezed juice. That's the minimum standard, you know.
Yeah.
But there's actually some benefits in. So I think myself personally that super juice makes cocktails shine a lot more. It brings some things that you cannot find whenever you use, especially the 1-day-old lime juice. Or,
Right, because you said you had to pre-prep a lot of the stuff for
yes.
that competition.
So, and that's why I did this, because I needed that little edge.
And when you go to a bar and order a margarita, I don't think I've ever, except maybe at Anvil, seen them actually stand there and
Yeah.
Well,
squeeze
let's
the lime.
talk a little
right?
comparison about these two samples for just a moment. Like the first sample you gave us tastes pretty close to fresh squeeze, like I would have guessed. Mm-hmm. Until I tasted the fresh squeeze, and there is definitely a difference. But I gotta say, this is a difference of say 10-15%. This is not like the difference in that squeezy bottle that you get that's shaped like a lime.
like a lime. Yeah.
Well, and
Like, because that stuff's like 40%,
right.
maybe
Different.
less.
Yeah, less.
It's
yeah.
way different.
And-
It's not good.
And most of the bars that do craft cocktails themselves, they get, well, I've been part of that. Like, we get the Specs lime juice, which is pasteurized, but I mean, it helps a little bit, but still, man, it's
It's still an off
It's
flavor or
off,
not
like-
quite.
It's still not quite like fresh squeeze. That's why.
not at all.
Yeah.
So
That's why every recipe you go to for a margarita, doesn't matter what all they want to put in it,
Fresh.
they're recommending fresh.
absolutely,
squeezed lime
and
juice.
you gotta keep in mind also that this juice was made a little bit over 2 weeks ago.
even when
That's crazy.
even if I make a margarita with like a mix,
And there's nothing added to this.
I still use a lime.
yeah.
All I do is do my extraction, which is the oleocitrate process.
Mm-hmm.
Then add the right ratio of water. I blend everything. I filter it. I do a slight. This is very important. I do a slight filtration. I don't do like a coffee filtration, because you want some of those
A little of the pulp,
you want,
a
because
little
that's
of the-
gonna give you body.
Got
If not, you're gonna end up with this super thin.
All right, so you're doing this because you're making these in mass quantities.
And there's
Right.
another factor. I needed that little edge because I knew almost for a fact, that nobody would use this. And their margarita was going to be sitting there for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
So-
yeah, smart thinking.
Mine was
You're
never
stable.
gonna change.
Right. All right, smart thinking.
So it's much more stable.
Way more stable. Like the I know for a fact, because I've done it. Like, I've been in this industry for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
When back in that time, I was not sure what was the deal, right? But I know for a fact that within 2-3 hours, your cocktail is not going to taste the same whenever you pre-batch it.
Sure, that makes sense. All right, so then what?
Then we're going to try our margarita.
Let's do that. That was the part I was hoping he would say.
Yeah.
That's what you've been getting at all this time.
I'm looking at his little table, which is kind of down below where the camera goes, but I can see all kinds of interesting stuff, including, by the way, can I show this off?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how practical this is, but this is, in fact, the coolest strainer that I have ever seen.
Is like
Oh my God,
9
that's
kinds
awesome.
of badass.
Yes, that is just so cool. You were telling me you got this to do for your YouTube
my
channel.
YouTube channel, yeah.
That's so smart. I would be like, check out that guy's strainer. Oh my God, it's so good. Anyway,
There's another important part to the margarita. So what I wanted to do
The
something.
strainer. Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to do something interactive and fun for the people, and I thought that was gonna make a big difference because that's what people like now.
It brings a level of involvement.
Interactive.
All right, pulls them in.
So I really wanted to create a unique margarita where you would, if I give you the margarita itself, you would be, okay, this is the standard for a Tommy's kind of style margarita. I don't use any Cointreau or triple sec or anything like that. I want you to try this margarita and be like, okay, this is what a standard margarita should taste like. But then whenever you inject that venom thing, I want you to have
Inject the venom.
yeah.
This is what he's talking about here. Oh, these are sitting on this table. I can see waiting.
So you got I don't see any of that. You have all the fun stuff by you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted it to be a completely different thing. Like, once you do that, I don't want you to taste. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is a completely different cocktail.
I don't know what that stuff is, but it looks like Bloody Mary mix is what it looks like.
How about I give it to you guys and then I'll tell you guys what.
Okay, all right,
Sounds good.
fair enough. Let's try it.
Let's start.
After you've tried the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I've already had the lime juice, which was just darn good. So.
Right?
Let's start with a little bit of lime juice.
Okay.
So let's do a little bit of a big batch. So normally what I do 1 ounce of lime juice. Mm-hmm. In this case, let's do 2 ounces to make the equivalent to margaritas.
Okay.
Then let's do half an ounce per margarita. In this case, we're going to do 1 ounce of lemon juice.
All right, so the lime juice that
lime
you
and
used,
lemon.
was that fresh squeezed or was that your super juice?
No, my super juice.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is
And
going to
did
be
you do that the same thing with lemon?
lemon, yes.
So lime super juice and lemon super juice.
But there's a trick to this one. What I did for the competition, I wanted to make it a little bit interesting and add a little bit of orange. So the lemon juice, I made a mix between orange peel and lemon peel
Oh, nice.
to make it just
So it's got a little orange to it because you're not using Contro or
nothing like that. And typically I don't. And whenever you come to a bar and ask for a margarita, my margarita is more towards a Tommy's style margarita.
Okay. Yep.
And then let's go to the agave.
This agave nectar, is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
And typically depends on everybody's like on your taste, but for a good margarita, you would do between 0.75 and 1 ounces of agave nectar. That's up to you entirely. Different.
And that's your sweetness right there, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be your sweetness. Let's see, what do we got here?
So a lot of people, I think, would use like a simple syrup or something. So you're just
Right.
you're using the agave nectar instead,
I
right?
think for a margarita or
Yeah, why not add that?
Because it's
happening?
agave, so it makes sense, right?
yeah, it's like for any. What's happening with this?
Is the top still affixed?
I think there's like this little thing.
Oh, it's in the way. Yep.
Yummy. Let's make it.
There we go. All right.
That comes out of there like glue.
Love it.
Now we're gonna do the fun part.
That would be the tequila.
Da booze.
I think if you ever go to a bar and they give you a margarita where they use 1.5 ounces of margarita,
Of tequila?
of tequila, return it.
Well, you know what I'll do, like if my wife and I are at like a concert or someplace where it's just like the a baseball game, something like that. We just go ahead and order the margarita and then a shot of tequila on the side and pour the tequila in the margarita so it's strong enough. So
Let's see. Let's try
Sometimes I'll do a topper. I'll do a Grand Marnier or
yeah, that can
something's
work.
real
That
nice
can
with
work.
it.
By the way, it makes that margarita at a baseball game cost $48.67, but it is a better margarita.
Except for if you only brought cash, then you have to go over to the cash machine
Right.
and reverse your cash
Reverse
back
your
into
cash
some
back
kind of
into-
card,
yep,
which they will not only charge you for, but then
Right.
you can go back over.
Oh yeah, it's like my favorite thing in Vegas is in the casinos they have all those things where you can get cash from your credit card.
Yeah.
Except there's like a 30%
It's
charge to
nuts.
get it. It's just stupid. But anyway,
So, if you go to the Renaissance Festival and you go to the cash machine, ye old cash machine is
ye
what they call
old day
it.
cash machine.
It's $9 per transaction, and they give you a $100 limit per transaction.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
so you have to keep going back and back and back. Now, Roberto, let me ask you this about shaking the margarita.
Yes.
How much is too much in terms of shaking
So,
it?
This is what you got to think about when you're shaking a cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think about the fact that you are chilling, of course, the cocktail, but you are adding water.
You're diluting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're diluting. So that's why it's very important to know exactly what are you making and what are you looking for. Let's see if I can put some ice in your. I would say a good rule of thumb typically. First of all, this is very important. You always build your cocktail in the small tin, never on the big one. And then I'll give you an example why. Once you have your contents, you fill all the way up with ice. Not like here, not here, all the way up.
Okay. And then you dump it into the big one.
Yeah, well, I typically what I do in the bar setting. But
Right. You put them together with each other and
Right.
shake. Got it,
exactly,
yeah.
and so I would say a good rule of thumb would be 8 to 10 seconds.
Okay. 8 to 10 seconds. And is that good for pretty much any shaken drinks?
Yeah, for the most part, you're looking for that. Always a good rule of thumb. Most of the time, not always. There's exceptions, but anything that has citrus or juices, you're gonna shake.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't like. I'm a big anti-shaken martini person.
We learned that a while back. I stir
Well,
my
we-
martinis now.
So I started stirring, and then we had Chris Morris on again, and he said, if you like a dirty martini, go ahead and shake it.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good rule.
And I always make dirty ones, so
Yeah, I've been stirring my martinis ever since we had that martini showdown.
that was great fun, by the way.
I think we got this. Okay.
All right,
So
we got it?
I want you guys to have a little sip.
Okay. Now this is the completed margarita, right?
That's the
So this is your completed standard margarita.
Okay.
We haven't added the sauce.
Man, that's good though. It's just very straightforward. Flavors are right up front.
Exactly.
It tastes so fresh too. Like
That's why precisely I don't like adding that much.
that orange pops out of there.
Yeah,
It's so nice.
you totally did. Yeah, and that's just because you combined a little bit of orange,
Exactly.
orange peel, orange zest.
It's
Is
the
that
orange
what-
peel.
Yeah. Okay.
When I was doing the lemon super juice, it's half lemon and half orange.
So it's
Wow,
half and
it
half.
pops out. It's real good.
Yeah, it really makes it good. Now, he doesn't like to add too much stuff, but look at this.
So I'm gonna give you guys a picture. But the way I served this margarita was in a cup, in a glass, big glass, and then that thing was right
Just sticking into
stuck
it.
in there.
Nice.
And then so people would see it like I wanted that visual impact.
So
you
people-
know?
did this
everyone
themselves, then.
else that was making margaritas looked over and went, "Damn it."
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
because he had the visual, right?
You guys want me to be super honest with you?
Yeah,
I was terrified.
really.
I was terrified because, so this whole competition, they told us, you have a big table, you have a big space and everything. It's up to you. You bring all the production that you want. You can bring, if you want to bring a freaking zoo with you, bring a zoo. So I was like,
When the people were here from
Margaritas and parakeet petting.
from Florida Cana rum, they brought a volcano. That was kind of cool.
you could bring
That
anything.
was fantastic.
So my team, Kevin, Dutch, and I, we show up. We have our table and we have a little wild sign with us, and then I start seeing all the other stands. And these guys, they brought like a huge freaking half of a car, like which was their bar, and then I start freaking out. I was like Kevin,
Oh, no.
I was like Kevin,
What have we done?
you gotta do something. Bring some gift cards or something. I was, and I remember he was so cool to me. He was like, Roberto, calm down. They came to try margaritas, not to the circus. So I was
great.
like, okay, let's get this going. So I brought a TV with me too because I made a video of all the process. My iPad was not working with the freaking
the sync, yeah.
and I ended up just putting my iPad on the table, showing the video over and over again.
Well, clearly it worked because you won the competition.
It was, and then I started getting into the flow of it, and I was like, just started talking to people.
Right.
So now,
what do we do?
so
Because I'm going to drink this all like in
Yeah,
a
it's
second.
going away pretty
I want
fast.
you to try, because this is gonna be the equivalent for a whole margarita, and we're not doing a whole margarita.
Okay, so-
I would say try to put a little bit, like about this much, and then adjust to your
Okay,
taste,
So about that much. Mm-hmm. I'll hand these over.
and make sure you mix it very well with the margarita.
Okay, so when you say mix it, do I want to stir it? What do I do?
Yeah, stir it a little bit with the. You
With
can
the
use
tip of the of the syringe. Here.
Yeah.
So you said about that much, about maybe
Yeah.
like half an inch,
Just a little bit more.
a bit more.
How's that?
I think
right?
that's good. That's about
Is that
right.
about right?
Yeah. Now mix it very well.
And what are we injecting this with? Oh, you're not going to tell us yet. Okay. All right.
If you
Get it
think that
all
it needs a
stirred
little
up.
bit more, feel free to add a little bit more.
Well, I'll have to taste it first before I can.
All right,
pass
but
over
it
on
doesn't change the nose a whole lot, right?
that. No.
Oh my God. Let's add some spice.
Yes, some zing, some spice for sure. So it's not far off because I said it looked like a Bloody Mary mix. That's what it's reminiscent of in
Oh.
the actual margarita.
I love the spice in it. I don't usually like spicy drinks, but this is
See, I'm with you, but this isn't overwhelming. It's enough to
Exactly.
tickle the senses, but it doesn't turn it into a spicy drink.
it's like a citrus spice kind of thing. You
Oh,
know how
right, right.
citrus
I
can
wanted-
sometimes be spicy on its own?
I wanted to cater to every palate because typically you go and have cocktails that I'd say they're spicy. They're either way too spicy or it's not for everybody. I wanted to make something for everyone. Everybody would be able
and
to.
this totally works. See, I wouldn't want any more than what's there.
Exactly.
That's right. that's like the balance there.
So what happened is that I wanted to make this thing where I wanted to make something completely different, something that nobody does.
You can see all the cool spices floating around in there. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it look fun.
It's how everybody in margaritas, they all go, nowadays everything is cucumber, everything is mango.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, I want to stay away from that. I want to make something that is completely different. So I love
and very Texas, by the way. being
very
spicy,
Texas.
yeah.
And so I'm from Mexico originally. We use tamarind a lot. We love tamarind.
Oh, yeah.
So what I did, I was like, I want to make a tamarind style margarita with some spices and stuff. So I called it Margarita al Pastor. So that was the name. That was the name of the margarita in the
Nice.
competition.
Nice.
So
That's delicious by itself.
So what I did, I went and bought these huge bricks of tamarind. It's just basically peeled tamarind put in a block. So I started cooking all that stuff with the water. Then I added chile guajillo, chile ancho, and chile chipotle.
You can get the little of that smokiness in there from
Exactly.
the chipotle, yeah.
And then I added a whole bunch of pineapples in there. Started cooking it all together. When I was done,
Pineapples are funny because you can add them to hot sauce, and they do kind of a funny thing. They're
exactly.
not always obvious.
They enhance the smoky flavors
Yeah.
a lot. So I cooked that for about an hour or so. So then I had to let it cool down. It's the whole process like a 3-hour process. I let it cool down. Then I one of those big filters that we have for the cold brew. I run all of that stuff through that cold brew filter.
If you've ever had one of those tamarind candies from like right by the counter at a store, if you're in a Hispanic neighborhood, the ones that kind of had that weird, they're not gummy, but they kind of stretch and pull apart, and they're really,
Oh yeah.
This has a little bit of that in there, and
I know,
in kind of
yeah.
the best way, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, which I was.
It comes in
aiming
a
for.
stick like a taffy, but it's
Well, I'll tell you this: it makes me want enchiladas.
oh man.
We should go get
So
enchiladas.
Wouldn't that be good? Just some really good cheese enchiladas with
Yes.
the meat sauce on
I
Is
top?
think
there a
we'll-
bar that is making this right now?
Actually, we're gonna have a riff of it at the new location. Montreux is gonna be on the menu.
Okay.
It's gonna be a mix of tequila and mezcal.
I was going to ask, with it being the smoky of a drink, and with smoky
I can
drinks
see
becoming
mezcal.
more
Would be-
popular,
we tried
would
it
you
already.
make it with mezcal? Yeah.
We came up with the recipe already. It's ready to go, and we thought it was an
Now
amazing.
you made this with El Jimador. El Jimador, that we use the silver. You have it here. We use the silver El Jimador, and it was funny because you're like, "This is what I use. I need to get some." I was like, "I got some at the house." It's like, this is a go-to. You know, like it's
amazing for
Yeah.
mixing margaritas and stuff.
I find this to be, and I don't mean anything negative to El Jimador, but I find it to be like a beautiful neutral.
Yeah.
Like it's got a very standard tequila flavor, and it's good. But it's not standing out in a lot of other ways,
Which
and therefore
you
it
need
works
that
really well.
sometimes.
Yeah. Like
So let me ask you this question about margaritas. I've been at restaurants in the past where they will have margaritas, more than one kind of margarita on the menu. And sometimes the more, the pricier ones will be with a higher quality tequila or a more aged tequila. I've always thought that it doesn't make a difference when you go to a margarita, that you're really almost wasting like a good añejo tequila in a margarita. But at the same time, often those margaritas are better tasting than the lesser ones on the menu.
Yeah.
What's happening there if
So-
it's not the age of the tequila?
Tequila is a very complex spirit and very artisan made. So I don't wanna diss on anyone or brands because I've worked with a lot of them. But there are tequilas that they don't follow the good old process of stone grinding and
Right.
small batching. So nowadays there's because tequila, the law in Mexico, they allow you to have additives in tequila.
Right. Now, that's one of the things that Liliana has taught us is to
Yeah.
always look for like 100% agave.
And
Right.
and they'll tell you they're agave 100%. But let's think of tequila as, imagine of a beautiful chicken breast, right? And you're gonna slow cook it in your like crock pot, and you're gonna add your herbs and your spices, and you're gonna take your time. It's gonna be an hour, very slowly cooking it, right? And it's gonna be soft, juicy, tender, amazing taste. Like the taste is gonna be amazing. So imagine that you just grab that chicken breast, you throw it into the microwave, and you accelerate the process by,
Right.
and then you have to
It's
add,
not going to be as good.
and then you have to add all that flavor back because you got rid of that. So that's what a lot of the companies do, which I'm not going to name them.
Which where the additives come from that you're talking
Exactly, and they add vanilla, a very, very known brand with a beautiful ceramic bottle is known to them. And they sell it very expensive.
about. Yes.
They are known for doing this.
Very interesting. All right, with that, we will take a break and we will return because I'm starting to see the talk pop up here about like drinking news. People are waiting. They're excited about drinking news. And I feel like if I let that build much further, I'm going to completely disappoint with drinking news. So we will be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is a great margarita. And look at all the little stuff
little
floating around
spices
the
and
bottom.
deliciousness.
I like it. We'll be right back.
So good.
In the beginning, so the story goes.
Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And somehow this has become part of the the grain, if you will, of Smokin' and
Part of the
Toastin'.
madness.
Yeah, it is our. By the way, I just wanted to say, this has become probably the most popular segment on the show, and so in order to balance that out, we're excited about something we're going to be debuting once we cross the 300 mark, and it will be, in a perfectly balanced world, this is the most popular segment of the show. It'll be the least popular segment on the show, and that's a little bit called Puppet Smoking Cigars. We'll have more for you. We'll have more for you on that coming up. But right now, it's time for the most popular portion of the program. It's a little thing we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome to Drinking News. This is the segment of the program where we bring you a story from the news that we believe to be true. These aren't from The Onion. They aren't just made up by us. It's not, original comedy.
The National Enquirer.
Yeah. Well, we might look
The
for a
hot
story
sheets,
there, but
if
we
you will.
we try to actually look for actual reasonable news and Fox News. So we will try that as well. In fact, today's story was actually reported first by Fox News.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go. Today's drinking news story actually is almost a drinking sports story, but the person who we're going to tell you about is not an athlete. He's just someone who was attending a sporting event. So technically this still falls under news, I think, rather than sports. That said, there are few teams in baseball as popular or as hated as the New York Yankees. I mean, sure, people hate the Astros because of that sign-stealing scandal that every team does, but the Astros were singularly caught and punished for. But most Astros fans in the world live in or around the greater Houston area. Yankees, however, have got fans all over the world, and it's a very interesting fan base. I myself am not a Yankees fan due to the fact that I spent 7 years living in Boston, and as you may or may not know, the state motto of Massachusetts is, in fact, Yankees suck. so I have that in my background, right? But even I have to admit that Yankees fans are extremely devoted and sometimes prone to ingenious ideas. They were able, for example, to determine that pitcher Roger Clemens was the incarnation of Satan himself when he pitched for the Boston Red Sox. And then, when he left Boston and 2 years later joined the Yankees, they were magically able to see him as almost Christ-like.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
Depends
then,
on which side of the counter you're on.
In 2003, when he announced his retirement, Yankees fans cheered him like the baseball messiah they believed him to be, only to decide that he was Satan again when he unretired to pitch for the Astros for a few years. And by the way, they were right about him the first time. Clemens may not be Satan, but he is kind of a prick. In any event, Yankees fans, kind of like Dallas Cowboys fans, have always had the ability to see things and do things a little bit differently.
Dallas Cowboy fans are definitely their own breed.
Oh, yeah, and sometimes with a bit of creative ingenuity involved, all of which brings us to our story. And although we often show pictures during Drinking News, today we're going to actually do something we haven't done before, which is to show you video of this impressively creative Yankees fan.
A real live Flickr show?
I will hold my iPad up to the camera, and hopefully Adam in the Cloud can actually substitute it for the actual video in post-production. And for audio only, Josh, let me tell you what this video is going to show. The unidentified New York man was taking in the Yankees-Mets game at Yankee Stadium, and he treated himself, just like I enjoy doing, to a hot dog and a beer. But unlike the way I usually consume them, this fan came up with a new and different way to enjoy his snack. He's seen in this video, shot by someone a row or two behind him, using his straw to poke a long, thin hole all the way through the length of the hot dog, after which he proceeds to use the wiener itself as the straw to drink his beer. And now I'm going to actually show this to the camera. Maybe you guys can see it as it goes up there.
This is just a
I'm
guy.
just playing this off a Twitter feed here, so here we go.
This is just... Why?
That's insane.
Okay, he looks like he's done this before.
I'm sure he has.
Like, this is not a first time.
I'm thinking
he's
you're
got a
probably right.
method.
I'm thinking you're probably right. Well, that's right, my friends. He turned his hot dog into a processed meat straw and sucked the beer out of his cup through the wiener as he enjoyed watching the game. And if you're listening to the show on audio only right now, just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in these 4 words, hot dog beer straw. And you can witness this creative and dumbfounding act for yourself.
There was a time in this man's life where he goes, I got this idea.
I got an epiphany.
You know what'd be cool?
I'll admit, despite knowing what they're actually made of, which apparently is lips and assholes, I still love me a good hot dog. I do.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. There may be no greater combination of flavors in the world than a regular Coney from James Coney Island, which is a chain that I'm sorry to let our listeners around the country know is only available in Houston.
And somewhat closing down a little bit,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I've noticed that. And anyone who listens to the show for more than a few minutes knows very well how I feel about beer. So this is something I'm a fan of. But that said, the idea of sucking your beer through your hot dog seems kind of weird. Some people thought it was genius, though. Here's a few comments on the video from Twitter. At Lindsay Adler said, "The hot dog beer straw man is the boldest example of American ingenuity since Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity."
Hot damn, that's more jacked
And
up
Barstool-
than a rattlesnake and a lawnmower.
Barstool Big Cat tweeted, "If you don't stand with hot dog straw guy, then we can't be friends. Life is about living. Drinking beers out of a hot dog is exactly that." Now, to be fair, there were plenty of criticisms on Twitter as well.
All right, so here's the thing. We're laughing about this and joking about this, but I have never tried drinking beer through a hot dog straw.
Well,
So it's real hard for me to go, maybe that's not good. I will tell you that my dog also eats cat poo occasionally, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to try that either.
that's
But,
that's
you
good.
know.
But well, being the intrepid drinking news reporter that I am, I couldn't just leave this alone.
Did you try this?
Well, I mean, the reaction may have been mixed
If
on
I'd
Twitter.
have known this was a story,
Yeah.
I literally grilled hot dogs last night on
Well,
my grill.
I thought, why stop there? Why not make a hot dog luge, like those ice sculptures that they make where they have them at parties where you pour vodka down it and you drink it at the bottom? That could be kind of cool, right? Or what about just floating some dogs in your party punch?
Hey, what if you took one hot dog and then widened out the end and stuck it over another hot dog, and it did that 2 or 3 times, so you could sit on the couch and drink your beer without even having to move?
Oh, yeah. Or just chop up some hot dogs, toss them in your party punch. If you made it with Everclear,
Yeah.
I mean, how much worse can it get, right? You know? So anyway, for my part, I decided.
It's vodka. It's vodka and Vienna sausage punch.
You can throw the stuff in there like raw, and it just
Yeah,
finished cooking.
yeah.
It's just chemically cooked by the alcohol.
So here's what I did, because like our mixologist friend here, I'm all about the science,
All right.
right? So for my part, I decided to do an experiment, and I would share it with you. And so after my wife forwarded me this story,
Please tell me you brought hot dogs today.
and by the way, no, I didn't, but I'm going to tell you about my experiment, though. And I just want to say, by the way, thank you, Mary. This is just an awesome story. I decided to try this on my own. So I used an Oscar Mayer wiener, because that's the most popular hot dog in the world. I boiled it in a pan until it was done, let it cool, used an actual straw to poke a hole all the way through it, just like Yankee Fan did. And then I poured myself a glass of a very popular beer. And here's what I discovered. Thanks to the amazing invention of the hot dog straw, I was actually able to detect flavor in Michelob Ultra.
That's awesome.
That is science, people. And if you want to deny science,
Well,
then you and I
you
probably
literally
can't be friends.
deconstructed this man's
my
thinking.
Yeah.
Like, we now know why he did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
It is science, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to deny science, then you and I probably can't be friends. That's all I'm saying. So, reporting live from my own kitchen, where unfortunately I've got 5 more Michelob Ultras. Does anybody want this crap?
I mean, you should have it. But you should have like 7 more dogs, right?
Yeah,
and they
that's
never.
true.
You notice you have the wrong amount of beers for your dogs because they can never match up.
Just like the hot dog buns on the hot dogs, right? They've always got to be, reporting live from my kitchen, folks. Anybody wants these Michelob Ultras, swing by. I'll throw them down from the balcony. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. That video was priceless, was it not?
That's amazing.
Now you understand why I couldn't just do a picture. Like, you had to actually see him going through the motions of that.
That's
like a pro.
yes.
Yeah. Like
No,
again,
yeah, he's done that before. You can certainly tell.
Yeah.
It's like, this beer doesn't have any flavor. That has to be it. I mean, there's no other reason for that.
That's the only thing I can think of, yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I remember trying to drink a Mountain Dew through a Twizzler straw. Like, I just bit each end off and used the Twizzler as a straw, but it kind of sucked.
Yeah,
You know?
probably wasn't that good, was it?
No,
Yeah.
not so much.
You know what you could do?
I did that once, right?
You could put the Twizzler, and then because of the spiral thing, you can just put the like
There's that.
It's kind of like the Vortex beer
yeah,
bottles.
Miller
from,
Lite's going to
Miller
sell
Lite,
this
yeah.
as a new.
Oh,
like
God.
the
New age
spiral, and
drinker.
it'll just go down.
Yeah, that's like those. Is Budweiser? Somebody's selling the micheladas, right? It's the
Yeah, Bud Light.
canned michelada. Like, seriously,
Bud
like
Light has a michelada.
Like a regular michelada isn't bad enough. You have to go and like do a pre-canned.
There's a
one.
Clamato, too,
Oh, even worse.
in a can.
You know, I had a friend that had that once. He had to go on all kinds of antibiotics. It was really a rough thing.
Oh.
Clamato?
Clamato.
Yeah, you know where I was headed with that.
See a doctor about that.
Let's talk about some good beer, shall we? We have a Prairie
No.
Artisan
No,
Ales
we can't do that
sitting there, and I mean, we just had a terrific margarita.
We
So
use
now
these
we
now?
got to.
I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed and you approved.
Oh, was
Because-
fantastic! I can totally see why you won this contest,
Well,
because
That's amazing.
That's an award-winning margarita, right
This
there.
means a lot to me because you guys are gentlemen with refined palates. So
I'm sorry. I was just laughing about the idea that Ian has a refined palate.
I don't know what to say about that.
That was kind of like, that's not what your mother said last night, Trebek. It was one of those just kind of like across the aisle slams there for no particular reason. It's because you're my friend. That's all. Yeah.
It's less refined than it is incarcerated.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned that this was a seasonal for Prairie Artisan Ales, and this is not available anymore.
I think it was not seasonal. I think they made it.
Was something
and
they made for a limited time.
And then it was.
Okay.
So I
Well-
remember I was able to get it but then they just stopped making it.
So I want to. Do we need
Everybody
one
get
more?
one?
Will you everybody get one? So I want to dedicate this then to Chris Hart, because he's the guy that has that great show, Whiskey Neat, where he always drinks whiskey and other beverages that you can't.
Man, this whiskey's
go and
delicious.
buy
Where can I
anywhere.
get some? You
Yeah,
can't.
you
can't.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a little of that today. But I'm excited that we're doing it because I don't think I know a single person alive, personally, who doesn't like Oreo cookies.
Prairie Artisan Ales, Double Dunk, Imperial Stout with Oreo. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy.
Thank
But
you.
what if it has Oreo?
Yeah, that could be good for the baby, right? Oreo's good for the baby.
Oreo.
I mean,
It's,
all those
I
hydrogenated
don't know
oils.
what's going on with the label here, but it's a fun label.
Yeah, I can tell you that on the nose, while Ian's showing you that label, on the nose, this tastes kind of like you dunked your Oreos in maple syrup instead of dunking
Yes,
them in
just like we.
instead of dunking them in milk.
Oh my gosh, it smells so good.
You get the Oreo.
Like
you get
I would
the,
wear this as cologne if I didn't, get pulled over ever.
It's yummy.
It really is. What do you think, Ian?
It's brilliant. There's the aftertaste has the creaminess of that white
Yeah.
filling.
The hydrogenated oils.
Yeah, yes. We all know that's in there, and we eat them anyway. It's just one of those things that you're like, yeah.
Oh man, I buy the double stuff.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And now there's triple stuff, I think.
Oh, that's see. I think that you can hit a line, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a too much double
So-
stuff.
so I'm gonna
which
be-
is if you've ever looked at it, it's like 1.5 stuff. But
I'll be a little heretical here though, and go against the grain. I actually really love the vanilla Oreos, where it's a vanilla sandwich
think I've
cookie
ever tried
with
that.
the Oreo cream.
I've seen it,
instead
but
of
I've never
chocolate.
tried it.
Oh my God, they're amazing.
I like. Let me let me be honest with you. I like Oreo cookies, but I will intentionally leave that package open
So they get a
because I
little
like
stale?
them to be just a little bit stale.
Oh, how interesting!
Just a tiny. Vanilla wafers are the same thing,
Uh-huh.
like just a little bit stale, and they're so much better.
You know what my best friend's wife does with that is she does it with Peeps. The little candies that come out at Easter that are like the
yeah,
little
the Peeps.
marshmallow stuff. Yeah, she opens up the bag and leaves it open so the Peeps get stale and a little crunchy, and that's when she likes them.
That's well, I mean, it is a marshmallow,
yeah,
so
right.
it's either
How
going to be
stale
more
can it get,
spongy
right?
or less spongy. That's
Right.
really what marshmallows do.
Exactly.
And
So-
occasionally they get melty.
But that's interesting about Oreos. I didn't know that you did that. That's I'm gonna have to try that.
I will leave them, and they have that you peel the thing off and then you see like
Yeah.
I always leave a little bit of
of-
airspace in there. I'm like, they get just a little bit
sounds
stale.
You are a connoisseur, my friend. I don't care what anyone says about it.
See, a connoisseur of everything, man.
I know. Well, it's really what the show is all about. When we started it was, let's just talk about stuff that we really enjoy, stuff that's life enhancing, life affirming,
Exactly.
and it really boiled down to booze and cigars. So that's what it's all about.
That's
Here we
right.
are at almost 300 episodes, and the focus has not changed.
No,
It's-
we are like laser focused.
I feel like it's been like that since men created honey and fermented into
Yeah.
meat. That's
right.
that's
Which-
been it.
was that the earliest?
That's the earliest form of
form of
alcohol.
Yeah, that's honey. I left the honey out and it rained a little bit. And now it's 5 days later. What's going on here? It's
Let's
really
go
good.
have some of it. It's even better than it was
It
before.
makes me happy.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really good.
I was
So,
mad
yeah.
a little bit ago, but now I'm.
So that's been the focus of the show since the beginning, and now we'll add puppets.
I love the puppets idea.
Yeah, I love it. Puppets smoking cigars. This is going to take the show to a whole new level. I wasn't sure we could sink
Which
lower than the
direction
level
is
we're
that
at.
level?
I wasn't sure we could sink lower than the level we're at, but you watch. We're going to. So I just want to put in a word here for Prairie Artisan Ales, which this is. These guys, they do a number of sours. They do a number of stouts and big beers. They don't do. I've never seen anything that I would call a sort of mainstream beer. Like I've never seen
like
just a lager or an IPA that was
Exactly.
just
We
normal.
did have
Pilsner.
one time that we didn't like.
And
But
you know
that's
what? I
not
gotta give them
that's
credit
not
for that.
because of anything they did wrong. It's just that like
Right. It
that
had ginger
I don't remember
in it
what
or
it was.
something.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
it just
was-
wasn't.
Yeah, it just
Not your
didn't work for the
style. Yeah.
palate. Yeah, and I agree with that. But you got to give them major credit for being so creative.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma, of all places. That's crazy.
Sometimes you
Yeah.
eat the bear.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. But I dig this. This is wonderful, and it's almost as tasty of a treat as Oreos and milk, except it's boozy, which makes it better.
Yummy.
Man, I bet this goes well with Oreos.
Pretty much everything goes well with Oreos,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I could dip Oreos into that.
Can I get a little more?
Yes, sir.
Dude, it's so good. Just a little bit.
It's so good.
Fantabulous. Well,
That's perfect.
I got to say, this has been a very interesting show. We've climbed the margarita ladder, as it were, and really kind of gone to the top, to the award-winning top
You have
of the
raised
margarita
Man.
tower.
you have raised the margarita to a level that is like pretty amazing.
Oh,
Now,
man.
in a few weeks, I'm going to come on the show and show you how to make the perfect vodka gimlet. But I'm afraid it's not going to compare to this kind of craftsmanship.
You can
I
try
did-
the
I
super
did-
juice.
I did very little science, but I might try the super juice. Except I have no idea how to do that thing that you
I'll
did.
give
The
you
with
whole
the
time
cookies.
you're making your gimlet, I'm gonna be like, that's not how Roberto would do it.
No. And then he's gonna hate me.
Let's get gaslight you the whole time.
But it is nowhere near as as big a deal as this, though, because there's so much like thought and preparation that went into
Yeah,
making
and
this.
I actually forgot one thing because we started going to another direction. There's another ingredient in the syringe.
oh, what's in there?
It's actually this is gonna be a funny one because last 3 days ago, Ian and I we were sitting on the porch smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey.
I know that's surprising to you guys.
I know. I can't believe you were
Right?
doing that.
Weird. Never. So I gave him a Mexican whiskey to try, and he was not a big fan of it. It's
so
it's
much.
called Abasolo. It's made from 100% ancestral corn. So anyway, this brand they have another liqueur called Nixta, which is a corn liqueur, sweet and delicious. It tastes literally like a tortilla with sweetness and delicious. So after I'm done filtering this, I add a little of simple syrup to bring the sweetness up to the par with the margarita, and then I add Nixta to it.
Oh, how much? Just a little touch, or
So the whole syringe is 1.5 ounces. There's about 0.25 ounces. So it's composed about 1 ounce of the tamarind solution. There's like about 0.15.
So about an eighth.
It's a
See, this is why we need to leave these cocktails to the professionals. I'm
yes,
convinced of it.
It's
you know?
everything is I do everything by weight and by
Yeah,
ounce.
yeah.
Like it's, but there's a formula that I use for everything.
I'm definitely more of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, trying to make it even out, and that's not the way you really should do it. I mean, you really
Not so much.
really should be
When you're
precise
making-
with this
when
stuff.
you're making
it's
a-
like baking versus
Exact-
cooking,
and
right?
is whenever you're making, let's say when I get hired to make a cocktail menu or a beverage program, you got to keep in mind that it has to be replicated.
Right, other
every
people have to
time.
be able to make this and
So-
make it
You have to be able to do it
consistently.
in a somewhat timely fashion.
And
somewhat
that's-
timely and somewhat consistent, right?
That's why I'm a big fan of teaching bars and preparing bars for pre-batching certain things and reducing
Right.
the amount of steps that a bartender has to go through because
Sure.
that helps you with consistency.
And I'm the guy at the end of the bar going, hey, can you finish up
Yeah.
and come get my order? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I totally get it. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back to wrap things up. But what a show this has been. I am just drinking Oreo cookies over here.
Yummy.
It's
so
really
good.
wonderful. We'll be right back. It's smoking and toasting.
Yeah. Mixed us made like that.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you guys so much for enjoying show number 295 with us.
halfway to
and
333.
thanks big time to our special guest on the show today. We have really had a great time with Roberto, and thank you for showing us.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing us all this stuff about margaritas. Like it really is a science. You know, I just kind of like fly by the seat of my pants, and that's why my cocktails aren't any better than they are.
You know,
You know?
here's the thing. We've been talking about margaritas this whole time because that's what he won that contest about.
Right.
But I've had him mix drinks that aren't margaritas, and he's just one of those guys. Like, it's always going to be top notch. It's always going to be like the best ingredients made the right way with thought.
Right.
And
Thought and preparation.
and it's always going to be an outstanding drink.
Yeah, and,
Thank you.
And this
Thank you.
certainly was
Don't mention
on
it.
today's show. So
Ever.
thank you, thank you for being here and doing this. We are off next week. There will be no show next week, but we'll be back on the. We'll be recording the show on the 12th. You guys will see it drop on the 15th. Will be our next show. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct. 15th will be our next show. So thank you very much for being a part of Smoking and Toasting, and we are excited to get back in here, taste some more new things, and tell you all about them, because what could be more fun than that? And we want to thank you for being with us for almost 300 shows. We're literally halfway to 333.
That's right.
That's very exciting. So thank you again, Roberto. Thanks to
Thank you,
everybody
guys.
who has been running the show here today. And thanks to you for being a part of Smoking and Toasting through almost 300 episodes. We're in the top 4%, baby.
That's pretty amazing.
That's the way we like it.
That's
Have a great
awesome.
week, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And until then, we salute you, my friends.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Salud.
y'all. There we
Let's
go.
drink some Oreos.
Oreos.
Mm.